How to make affirmations work for you, the secret to making affirmations work for you. Now, I'm excited about this video because affirmations have been a part of my life on and off for probably 20 years at this point. When I was 18, 19 years old, I really dove deep into neurolinguistic programming, got introduced to some amazing books back then, and began to see how affirmations slash declarations could really be a practice in changing my life and providing an invitation for me to see myself and to see life differently than how I was seeing it in the past. And what I'm going to do in the first half of this video is I'm going to paint the context for why, number one, what affirmations are, and number two, a way of looking at them that I think will unlock a level of excitement and enthusiasm around them, so that they're not just something where you're going through the motions, wishfully thinking, but rather you can get really grounded in seeing that your language and the way that you speak about yourself can actually be declarations and creations that call forth a new way of being into the world. So, why do I believe affirmations work? Well, I believe affirmations work because we are already using affirmations on an unconscious level, on an automatic level inside of our minds that are providing the limitations and generating the current reality that we're living in. So, if we are to already use this kind of existing mechanism that's within us, aka self talk, to begin to intentionally create realities that we want and have a practice around that, then it's not like we're inventing something new. We're not installing a brand new mechanism. We're just simply beginning to have more of a conscious say in this verbal dialogue that's already going on inside of our mind. I found this study. According to the National Science Foundation, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive thoughts. If we repeat those negative thoughts, we think way more negatively than we do positively. Now, why is this? Why would our brain think negative thoughts more so than positive? Well, I will say that it's my opinion and the opinion of many of the teachers that I've worked with and stellar human beings, that the reason why we have more negative thoughts than positive thoughts is because negative thoughts fulfill the prime directive of being human, which is to make sure that we are safe and that we're protected and that we are not putting ourselves into situations that annihilate our physical body or annihilate our identity. And so negative thoughts are, another way of framing them is they're self-protective thoughts, because the more protected and safe we have, the less change that we bring into our lives, the more that we can count on continuing to survive with a heartbeat, even if our conscious mind is miserable. So I've made a video about this before. I don't believe that self-sabotage exists. It's all self-protection. It's all there designed to keep us safe, keep us breathing, keep us moving forward in a kind of default way, leaving us with the devil we know rather than the devil we don't. So, what is an affirmation? So, an affirmation or a declaration is an interpretation about myself or life. It's a story. And if we think about it, like who am I and who are you? You are a story that exists. You're a concept. You're a summation of a narrative of thoughts and beliefs and perspectives that exist inside of this meat sack that we call being human. And if we exist inside of a narrative, if Clayton actually exists as a story through language, then it makes sense that if we begin to shift the interpretation of who Clayton is, of who you are, through language, through intentional creation, we can start to change our relationship with ourselves, and we can start to change our relationship with life. And what is fascinating is we will also begin to shift into a different inner stance and begin to look for evidence of different things that exist. We'll start to look for evidence of the things that we want, possibly, rather than evidence of the things that we don't want. And I'll open that up more here in a moment. Good afternoon, Philly. Jada, thanks for stopping by. Crystal, good to see you. Denise, love it. All right, thank you. And I see some questions coming in here too. So, again, if you're coming in late, feel free to drop a question if there's anything that you have about this content or anything going on in your life that you'd like me to speak to. And Sandra, hi. Thanks for being here with us and taking some time out of your Saturday afternoon to watch this video. So, not only is an affirmation an interpretation about myself or life, but an affirmation is also a way to get really clear on what it is that you want. In order to create an affirmation, and I'll use these words, affirmation and declaration, interchangeably. In order to use declarations powerfully, it requires us to actually take a moment and get really clear on what it is that we want. And you'd be surprised by how many people don't actually know what they want. When I'm in my coaching practice and I'm working with folks, one of the core questions that I come back to again and again, even on a single session, is I ask the question, what is it that you would like? Or what is it that you want? And often what happens on the other side of that is many times the individual I'm working with will answer about all the things that they don't want. They'll go into a story about what's not working. They'll go into a story about what they've been feeling. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we can begin to just notice the orientation of the majority of people, which is they're in a reactive state and maybe feeling overwhelmed or maybe feeling really in touch and in relationship with the experience that they don't want, rather than sitting back and beginning to dream and create ideation around who it is that they want to become. And so that question, what is it that you want, begins to invoke and creates invitation for us to start to move your consciousness from looking at the present state and starts to shift it over into, okay, well, what is it that you want to create? So in order to create an affirmation, we need to start looking into the future and become a leader and a visionary of our own life. And there's something incredibly powerful about that, because when we start to get clear on what it is that we want, we have a much better chance at being able to create that, right? Like if I don't know what I want and all I know is what I don't want, how am I going to move towards something that is going to ultimately create a different experience? It becomes very difficult. It's like moving backwards away from pain rather than moving towards something. So affirmations are also an anchor. They're a declaration. They're an anchor to a state of being, okay? A state of being. So a state of being is a conglomeration of thoughts, feelings, perspectives, internal dialogue, core beliefs that I have about a situation. A state of being is another way of saying like an inner stance. It's a place, it's a vantage point from which I look out from. And in Okay, I'm back. It looks like I may have lost you. Let's see here. So I'll just repeat that piece. An affirmation, a declaration, is a way of shifting our internal geography, the place that we're looking out from, and shifting the kind of perceptual filter that we look out from so that we start to look for evidence of something different. We start to see things differently. We see things from a different perspective. And speaking affirmations is a way of reminding ourselves to get back into that place. So evidence is infinite. Evidence is infinite. You will always find what you're looking for, even though what you're looking for might not always be what you want. You will always find what you're looking for, even though what you're looking for might not be what you want. And so if you're looking for reasons why relationship doesn't work for you, if you're looking for reasons why you're dissatisfied with your work, if you're looking for reasons why somebody that you're in connection with is an asshole, you will find all of the evidence that you're looking for, because our brains are incredibly powerful at being able to curate and sort information to support the, the beliefs that we have about life. It allows us to have confirmation and certainty within us that gives us a really good feeling, because it stops us from feeling lost and confused and gives us a bit of a roadmap of then how to orient. The problem is, if you're looking for negative things, it can end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if we stand in the perspective that evidence is infinite, then when we speak these declarations about who it is that we are becoming, what it is that we want to be, we start to look for evidence in a completely different direction. And because evidence is infinite, we will begin to find it. We will begin to notice it out in the world. There's a system inside of our brain, a component of our brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And this is something you can witness in your own life, where if you buy a car or you begin to look for a certain type of car that you want to purchase, you'll start to see that car everywhere in your city. And it's because your brain is now trained to focus and look for that. And so if you have declarations running in your mind that are ones of generative positivity and life stances and inner stances that actually have you create and feel more powerful, confident, trusting, loving, you're going to start to see evidence of that in your life. All right, so I'm going to move over to the next phase here, is how to make affirmations work. But before I dive into that, I'm going to pause, take a look at the comments and see if there is any questions or comments on this. And feel free to, at this point, let me know if there's anything coming up for you about this. How is this landing? All right, I see some questions here. Okay, Gina asks question 1 of 2, which you may have answered before. How do I actually believe what I am telling myself? My mantras totally contradict my reality. Beautiful question. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I will speak to that. And I'm going to speak to that in this next section here in a moment. And it might actually tee up what we're about to talk about here momentarily. Question 2 of 2. I am able to engage with positive thinking, thankfully. I'm trying to build on this so as to truly feel and vibe with my affirmations, which are to do with confidence and love. Okay, great. So what was your question with that one? It looks like a statement more than a question. If you want to complete that, please do. Hello, Philly, Sandra, Lila, Valerie, Denise. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, and so I'm going to address this. How do you believe what you're actually telling yourself? And your question may begin to get answered just through this last piece of evidence is infinite. So one of the ways you begin to believe what it is that you're saying is by looking for and gathering evidence, creating an evidence procedure in your life to support that new perspective that you're creating. So the more evidence that you build up for that thing being true, the more that you play detective in your own life, consciously and presently, around why what you're saying is actually true. And you begin to scan the different contexts of the world you live in for evidence that that thing is true. Your body will begin to more orient towards that thing actually being true. There is another way of looking at this too, where we can actually let go of you having to believe that the thing is true. And I'll talk about that here in just a moment. I'll let you know when I do. Okay, so how do we make affirmations work for us? So the first thing that I would just recommend if you're wanting to create affirmations is to sit down and make a list of what it is that you want from your life and what it is that you want out of life. Make a list of 10 things. And then for each one that you write down, ask this question. Who do I need to be in order for that to occur? Who do I need to be in order for that to occur? The idea is that we are noticing the things in our life that we want to do or have, the things that we want to attain or the actions that we want to take. And then we're exploring who do we need to be so that thing or action inevitably occurs. So say I'm wanting to wake up every morning and go to the gym. Who is it that I need to be in order for that behavior to naturally spawn forth as an expression of that being. So it might be an identity statement. I am, I am what? So, for instance, if we're wanting to sit down and write a book and we're wanting to continue to have a practice there, we might have just a simple identity statement of I am a writer. I am I am someone who uh, channels and allows congruent and expansive ideas to flow through their pen. Right? I am a present, expansive writer of ideas. And just even beginning to explore, and this is what this is too. This is an exploration. This is almost like we're experimenting with different types of clothing and putting it on and just noticing how it feels as we try on these different garments. Maybe we subtract some of that language. Maybe we add different adjectives. Maybe we add different adverbs to help us really land something that starts to feel good in our system as we speak it. Okay, so 10 things that you want, and then the question, who do I need to be in order for that to occur? So if I want a loving relationship, I may bring the statement back to myself. I am collaborative, inherently valuable, and attract the attention and interest of high caliber individuals that want a devoted partnership. Just feel that as an idea, right? Feel that as an idea. Like, who would you be? Who will you be when that's true? Right? How does that feel to stand in that? Maybe you want to stop feeling overwhelmed with work. How do you bring it back to you? Who would you need to be to stop feeling overwhelmed with work? Um, I am that I always get things done in a graceful and timely manner. Now, here's the fascinating thing about this is we're not always necessarily looking backwards in the past for evidence of this thing being true. Um, there's a presupposition here I want to name about affirmations that can begin to help us have a little bit more power in it. If we're always looking backwards for evidence, if we're always looking backwards and we think that the only way we can speak something that's true is by looking backwards into our past and life to find evidence of that thing occurring, and that's the only thing we can do, we might find that we are really chopping ourselves off at the legs to be able to change, that we're keeping ourselves stuck in a past version of ourselves. When what I would like to invite you to realize is that who you are is a constant creation that is unfolding in every single moment, where you have a choice about the orientation you are taking, and that there is always an opportunity right now to completely reinvent yourself moving forward. And that reinvention happens from letting go of who you've been and being able to move forward and look into who it is that you want to be. If we only looked backwards for what was possible, we'd probably never end up walking. We'd still be crawling. We'd still be crapping our pants as a baby because we are not giving ourselves credit for being able to learn how to do something different. And so our life is constant learning. We can learn to have a better relationship with ourselves. We can learn to have a more expansive present relationship with life. These are all things that are accessible to us as being human. All right. So here's a couple tips as we dive into creating affirmations. How do we actually make these work? So now what I've just covered is the kind of meta context of why I believe affirmations are so powerful and a way of looking at affirmations to give you more access to some enjoyment and curiosity and learning around them. And now I'm going to get into the tactical of some of the things that I've learned from a number of different people about how to make these really work. So the first one is to make sure that you're stating the affirmations only in the present tense. Okay, so rather than saying I will be confident, I will be loving, or I want this or I want that, it's to speak it as if it is already true right now in the present moment. And the reason we do that is so that we can give our neurology, our system, our body a chance to step into that reality and act as if it's true and to get familiar with how that actually feels. When we use our language to put something off in the future, we stop our body from being able to have an experience of it in the present moment. And instead, what our body experiences is the lacking of that thing because that thing is out in the future rather than existing right now in the present. I'm just looking through some questions here, seeing what's landing. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Love that this is landing. Beautiful. Okay. And Gina, I see your second question here. I'll get to it momentarily. Okay, the other aspect of this, and I mentioned this earlier, is we need to state it in the positive. We need to state all of these declarations and these affirmations that we have in the positive, because if you state it in the negative, you will create images of what it is that you don't want that your body then responds to. And when you create images of what you don't want, your body will create a certain feeling that orients towards what you don't want, which could be disgust, inadequacy, helplessness. And what we're ultimately wanting to do is we're wanting to practice bringing our body into the frequency of what it will be like to already have that thing. So rather than, I will never feel insecure again, it's, I am always confident in myself, or I am always trusting of my capability to be centered and calm in every situation. Okay. Now, Gina, this is going to address one of your earlier questions about how do you believe these things, and this is a way of looking at declarations that has allowed me to kind of get past that sometimes that BS filter that comes up, where it's like, how do I believe this? Like, I don't know if I can see all the evidence that I'm looking for that this thing is true. Shift the declaration of the affirmation from a thing of feeling like you have to believe it to actually it being a commitment. So I am committed to this, right? That you could say that these declarations are things that I am declaring in the moment, that I am committed to this. If we look at like the Declaration of Independence with the United States, this was something that was born in the moment. And if they were looking backwards in the past, they wouldn't have created that. So the Declaration is a commitment in the moment. It is a turning of a page, it is a closing of a chapter, and it is the standing in that I am in alignment with creating this with all of my being. That's it. I am committed to being fully confident and present in every moment. I am committed to being collaborative, inherently valuable, and attract the attention and interest of high caliber individuals that want a devoted partnership with me. Just using that as an example. So if we see it as a commitment, we may be able to get far more behind it, as where we're not suddenly have another dialogue running in our mind of like, oh, is this true? Is this not true? But rather I'm exercising my power to create with my language through making commitments. Okay, the next piece. Speaking them from your heart, not your head. Sometimes people create affirmations from a place where they're trying to speak about what they think they should do and what they should be. And that is sourcing these affirmations from your mind rather than sourcing them from your heart. And the reason I would recommend sourcing them from your heart is because when you source them from your heart, there's a way in which you bring your body into the experience of these affirmations. Okay? You will bring the affective aspect of yourself into the affirmation, so it's not just from your mind, but your full body will be behind it. And so I'm looking for, what is it that I want? Not what is it that I think I should do? Not something that I think I should do because somebody somewhere on a YouTube video told me that this is what I should want or that this is what I should be. right? Not me or anybody else. It's what is it that you want? And this is why, look, I can give you affirmations, my affirmations. We can look up other affirmations online and say, what are powerful ones that'll help me change? And they can be powerful, but they can be really only powerful, in my opinion, if that's what you truly want, not something that you think you should have. So bring them into your body by sourcing them from your heart, getting really clear on what your desire is, and then speaking them from that place. Next is also making them sensory. Okay. So what this means is in neurolinguistic programming, the way that we create reality is through the five senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And then there's also olfactory and gustatory, which is taste and smell. But the 80 to 90% of our reality is coming through our visual system, our auditory system, and our kinesthetic system, meaning the pictures that we create in our mind, the things that we see, the auditory dialogue that we hear, the commentary that we have about life, the questions that we're unconsciously asking ourselves that we're living into, and the feelings that are being generated inside of our body that are then also creating pictures and thoughts and feeling and more feelings as well. So it's this kind of system that just keeps wrapping inside of itself. So when you can get your VAK, visual auditory kinesthetic system, into these affirmations, they become much more powerful. So if I'm speaking about being confident, if I am saying I am powerfully confident and fully trust myself, I'm not just saying it with empty words, but I'm saying it and I'm looking in two directions here. One, I'm looking backwards for evidence that this is true, to notice just different places where I was that way. And I'm also looking forward into imagining, when I am that way, how will I know? If I was a fly on the wall watching myself showing up that way in different contexts, what would I see? How would he move? How would he speak? How would he breathe? What would his facial expression be? How would people react to him? So I'm just noticing, I'm creating pictures and an idea, three-dimensional model of this version of myself, fully embodying and living from that declaration. What this does is it gives the proper inputs to our reality creating system, and then allows us to generate certain feelings within us that bring aspects of ourselves more online. I'm going to pause there for a moment and just check out the comments here. How is this landing? Any other questions coming up? I'm seeing Philly say preach, seeing some hearts, facts, yes from Valerie. I needed to hear this from Hania. I think it's Hania. And then Gina question, speaking of writing, when is your book on how to fully love oneself and others coming out? Thank you, Gina. I love that reflection, and that's a great question. It's been something uh, that's been on my mind, and I'm continuing to gather insight in my own journey on that. And I will let you know when these things start to give birth. Um, all right. Second question here. So I'm increasingly able to at least be constructive and problem solve. I think this is the route to feeling and living my affirmations. Do you agree? Yeah, I think depending on what your affirmations are, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even as I say that, like what I'm hearing you say is that you are noticing yourself becoming more resourceful inside of your life and inside of your circumstances to be able to create. So that absolutely seems like progress and evidence that something you're doing is absolutely working. Yes. And light relief. When is your solar seller coming by again? And will you, on this occasion, get rid of him or her under 5 seconds? Funny. Great noticing. I love that. All right. Then, Hanea, if I feel emptiness but trying hard to work on myself and holding affirmations even though I don't feel it, uh, am I will feel growth and confidence? Does that will help my will to become what I want. So what I'm understanding here is that if you're not feeling it, will it work? Um, I would want to invite you to do your best to feel it as much as possible, and which is why I'm giving some of these tips around making these affirmations as sensory as possible. Because the more that you can take a moment, I mean, even listen, if you're reading an affirmation, you're not feeling it, slow down and step into the idea and the full expression of that idea as if it was true, and see pictures and see yourself with that occurring, and uh, allow yourself to get acquainted with these ideas and to kind of swim in them, because this is not about quantity, this is about quality, and it's about experimentation and visualization, and using these affirmations as an anchor point. If you're just going through the motions, here's the thing, like affirmations, I've dipped into them at different points in my life. I've never been consistent fully over the last 20 years, because what I'll notice is I'll create a set of core beliefs that I'm committed to living by, and then I'll read these on a daily, maybe 2 times a day basis, and I'll speak them out loud. And then after a few months, like I find myself gravitating away from them and just living my life, and actually feeling like they kind of blasted me off in a different direction, and they've given me momentum. And now it's just a matter of continuing to like live these into existence. So uh, if they at some point feel like I'm just going through the motions, I might retire the ones that I'm feeling like I'm going through the motions on, and I might create some new ones that stir the emotions again. uh, KNNYC. Do I need to say them out loud? I would recommend saying them out loud. Absolutely. So there was this poster that I've seen, and maybe y'all have seen it too. It was in my dentist's office actually, and it said something around like our thoughts create words, our words create actions, our actions create habits, our habits create character, our character creates our destiny. And so the more that we can bring um, these ideas into reality through that kind of ladder, right? Through speaking them and then even doing things that are in align with them, we begin to pull forth and evoke more of that into the three-dimensional plane. What if what you genuinely want isn't what I should want? Can you substitute affirmations that encourage you to think in a different direction in a relationship with someone you shouldn't be with? Um, this is a great question, Jody, and I'm really happy that you asked this. And I think that if we had you on a live coaching call, we could dig into this, because what I would encourage you to investigate in this question is how do you know that you should want this? What authority or voice outside of you, society, family, friends, are telling you that you should uh, want something if you don't want it? Is it family, friends? And just to get really clear on that, because uh, it sounds like what you might be interpreting of what you shouldn't want, it could be secretly something that you want that you don't want to admit because it's too painful. Or it could be that there is a way in which you are outsourcing your inner authority to people outside of you that you think may know better than you do. And that would be something to investigate, because whenever we're operating in a place of like what we should be doing, there's a disempowerment that occurs. There's an inner divorce that happens with our ability to lead and create in our life. And then affirmation from an epiphany. Not sure I get that question, but I have had affirmations that have absolutely come from epiphanies. And I think that there is a real value, and especially if you have an epiphany about life, to record it as an affirmation so it becomes an anchor from a perspective that you can revisit again and again. All right. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to keep moving along here. We're close to the end. Um, oh, yeah, and here's another piece. There's a couple more pieces here. So I always speak affirmations as identity statements. And identity statements are I am. I am this. I am that. And the reason I do that is because the thing is I have control over who I am. Let's just say this, I have a really, um, a real influence over who I am. And when I bring that power back into me, I'm creating an outcome that is controlled and maintained by self. If I am there are affirmations, and I'm not going to go too deep into this. There's been some individuals that have been really influential in expanding my ideas of affirmations. One of them is a coach that I've been working with, John Patrick Morgan, where you can speak things into existence that you quote unquote don't have control over, outcomes and whatnot. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to stick specifically into um, keeping the power and the agency within yourself, speaking around your identity, because that's where everything spawns forth from, your perspectives and your power to create. So I am statements are a powerful way to keep the power and the agency within you, the inner authority within you. So I am confident. I am free. I am naturally confident and trust that life has my back. Um, and then I'm going to move on to this next piece too, around making the affirmations. This is a tip that I learned a long time ago with some of the NLP training that I did. And this is around adding adverbs to affirmations. So an adverb is something like expansively, automatically, naturally, easily, powerfully, gently, gracefully, happily, calmly, effortlessly. So I'll give you an example. If I was to add an adverb to a affirmation or a declaration, I might have, I am confident and trust that life has my back. Okay, that would be the base affirmation. If I was to add some adverbs to it, it would be, I am wildly confident and naturally trust that life has my back. Now, the way that I was taught this, the reason to do that is actually because when we have these different aspects of ourselves that are listening to our dialogue, if we have a part of ourselves that is rejecting the affirmation, when we add an adverb, it actually allows the affirmation to go in deeper, and for our unconscious mind, for our conscious mind to reject part of the statement. Our conscious mind might reject the adverb, but the rest of the affirmation slips in. So I am wildly confident and naturally trust that life has my back. There might be an internal objection consciously that comes up that says, no, that's not true. But what ends up happening is saying that's not true. Like, it's not that I'm wildly confident, or it's not that naturally I'm trusting life, but still the I am confident and trust life has more of a chance of slipping into the unconscious mind, because the conscious mind is almost overwhelmed by rejecting the adverbs rather than the statement itself. That's incredibly technical, but I have found that it seems like it works for me. Might be something that you can try out as well, is just adding some of these adverbs. I mean, another way of we could construct that sentence would be, I am expansively confident and automatically trust that life has my back. Might not happen automatically, but it still happens. So I also find that adding these adverbs also create another level of visual imagery to the affirmation that bring my body into the statement, which can make them, again, more powerful. Okay. Okay, so I tried to ask my tax whether I want something unhealthy. Okay, it doesn't look like there's more questions here. I'm gonna give you a couple affirmations that I've got that I've created for myself, and just as an example of why, I'm gonna give you an example of why I've created them as well, as I talk about this. So here's a couple ones that have been staples in my life that I come back to again and again, and their commitments, their declarations. I am that my life is divine magic unfolding exponentially into higher frequencies of love and consciousness. I am that my life is divine magic unfolding exponentially into higher frequencies of love and consciousness. Yeah, why do I say that, right? Well, it's because I want and am dedicated and committed to bringing more love and creating more love in my life. I want to become more self aware. I want to see things more clearly. And I also want to trust that there's something larger than myself that is guiding my life and that it's not all up to me. And this statement helps me stand in that and experience that as true. And what happens? It gives me a sense of relief. It gives me a sense of relief that maybe I don't have to carry everything on my shoulders. Because oftentimes I've had the experience of feeling like it is all on me and that life is a burden and that if I'm not making it happen, it's not going to happen. And so that's just part of the orientation that I have as being Clayton on this planet. And these are affirmations that help me untether and unpack uh, a core belief that may cause suffering. Another one, I am that simply being present is enough. I am that simply being present is enough. Now, I've done that too because there's been a belief that has been there in my life that the more that I do, the more value I create, and that if I'm not doing, then I'm not valuable. If I'm not creating, if I'm not achieving, then it's not enough. So, this I am that simply being present is enough allows me to pause and find value in not doing. It reminds me to come back to realizing that I cannot do and still be valuable. Another one, I am powerful in any shape or form. I am powerful in any shape or form. Now, that one's been there because I remember, and this still happens from time to time, I have trouble sleeping. I'm visited by my own internal voice at 4 in the morning at times. And from a lack of sleep, I might get sick or I might feel really tired and kind of beat up. I might not be able to work out. And I noticed that there was this judgment coming around of like, God, if I'm not on top of my game and I'm not getting great sleep and I'm not fully present and I'm not able to work out, like I'm not powerful. And I knew that that was like that was something that was not a reality I wanted to live into. And so this statement, I am powerful in any shape or form, when this is expressed, it's like, look, I can be tired, I could have not worked out because my immune system's may be messed up, but it doesn't matter. How I show up is powerful regardless of what's happening with my physical body. And that gives me a sense of relief and it actually allows me to take life on with more grace. A couple others here. I am that my words automatically liberate myself and others. I am that my words automatically liberate myself and others. Here's another one. I am constant. I am a constant practice of self love, self acceptance, and a minor of the gifts in each and every experience I feel resistance to. I am a constant practice of self love, self acceptance, and a minor of the gifts in each and every experience I feel resistance to. What does that create inside of me? Curiosity, relief, anti fragility, the capacity to metabolize and alchemize anything that happens to me. Where if all of a sudden I feel like I don't want it, I feel resistance to it, rather than slipping into a victim mindset, which can be so easy to do, I can stay in a creator place, a creator mindset, and I can realize that there are gifts in these experiences, and then I'm automatically going to be searching for them and looking for them. All right. And then I have a couple just even about my partner as well. And so I'm just going to expand into this into another direction. My partner's name is Asia, and these are also commitments of ways that I choose to see her that add value to our relationship. I am that Asia is confident, beautiful, sexy, and free. I am that Asia is powerful and overflowing with wisdom. And what does that do when I continually bring myself back to that perspective is I see her through that lens. And I also then evoke that to be more true inside of her, because in my presence and together, there is a space and an invitation for that to become more and more real and more online in my relationship. All right. So that's the video. That's the content portion. I hope that you enjoyed it and received some value and some insights and nuggets that you can take into your own life. I'm going to come back to the comments here and just see what's going on. Thanks for doing this. That's brilliant. Hi, Clayton. Thanks, Sharon. Do you happen to teach meditation? I don't, Gina, but I'm open to sharing how I engage with that at some point too. And that was something that was actually coming up because I was thinking about my morning routine and the things that I do to bring myself into alignment and cultivate a way of being that allows me to coach and to be with people. And so at some point, perhaps I can talk a little bit more about what works for me. Can we have affirmations in our dreams? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think we can have incredibly insightful uh, symbology that unfolds in our dreams that can help us see more clearly the medicine and uh, areas of cultivation that would truly serve us. Anna asks, I wonder what your thoughts are on equality in relationship. I'm not a religious person. However, traditionally, wife is subordinate to her husband according to the Bible. Can't they just be equal and have mutual respect? Would love to hear your thoughts about it. Um, yeah, and semantics are really interesting here because I think that there is a way in which really good relationships, really healthy relationships, have um, complementary skill sets and complementary ways of being. Um, I know that in my relationship, it's incredibly complementary. There are many things that I miss that my partner sees. There are ways in which my partner is far more of a visionary than I am, where I tend to be more of the executor in our relationship. But there's ways and things that she sees that really help me see things more clearly and at a higher altitude. And so this idea of like calculating equality, um, like yeah, both partners, both people are inherently valuable in the system, and the relationship cannot exist without the infinite value of each partner coming forth and being realized in the relationship, and then what can be created from that as a foundation is incredible. And I think that if there is a paradigm of inequality happening in the relationship, I don't think that is healthy. But equal does not mean that both people are doing the exact same thing or inhabiting the same territory in the relationship. There can still be very complementary ways of showing up in the relationship. Uh, and all of those complementary ways need to be seen as valuable and critical contributions to the relationship so that respect and appreciation for each other continues to stay online. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Can affirmation be a prayer? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that hits deep just even hearing that question because I know that, um, I know the power of prayer, and I know the power of being able to speak something, let it go, and trust, and not have to kind of um, feel like it's all on you to create it. And so I think that is a great way of asking and allowing life to give. Yeah. Yeah, and then Mona, loving all your powerful affirmations, would be wonderful to have a list of them in writing to be able to read and repeat. Yeah, and Mona, I want to just put out there for anybody that's wanting that. I'm happy to create some powerful affirmations that I believe are foundational core beliefs of uh, people that are living on the kind of growth edge of their life and trusting and confident and expansive creators. And uh, some of the most powerful affirmations we can create or can read and speak are the ones that we create for ourselves, because they're born from our desire rather than somebody else's. So the one thing that I'll say is this too, as we kind of wrap up this video, and I want to just thank everybody for being here with me on a Saturday again, is, some of the things that can, where we can get stuck with this, if we have these like little nagging um, core beliefs around enoughness or feeling helpless or feeling not valuable or feeling broken. Um, Affirmations are a tool to begin to help us step into and experience and test drive a new way of being. Um, One of the reasons why people will work with a coach in this regard is that when we start to dig in and excavate some of these core identity beliefs that have been there, that are ancient within you, there often is a way in which we need to expand the territory of why that core belief exists in the first place, and the service and the solution that that core belief might have been to a younger version of ourselves. Said another way, why that core belief, or how that core belief of maybe being not enough or not feeling valuable actually somehow protected us in some ways. And for us to navigate through dialogue and begin to understand just the service that that was providing to our life, which can sound so counterintuitive and paradoxical to think that something that maybe is holding you back so uh, vehemently in the present moment, something that you can feel like you're just so ferociously in opposition to in the present moment, that is such a limitation now. How could that possibly be in service of me? And this is truly the beauty of coaching, and why I'm number one. I invest in coaching myself. I've worked with a number of coaches over the last 10 years because I can't see my own eyeball um, unless I'm using a mirror. And the metaphor here is that that coach serves as a mirror to help shine light on the aspects of myself that are in the shadows, that I don't want to look at, that I don't know how to love, that I don't have the strategy for love, I don't have the understanding to love. And so I reject them and suppress them, and then they might come out in different ways that limit and create suffering in my life. A good coach is there to help illuminate these areas so that we can create freedom in the present moment, so that we can actually begin to untether ourselves from these protective mechanisms and begin to gracefully, with respect and appreciation, start to drift naturally towards what we want to create. That's the power of coaching. That's the power of good coaching, in my opinion. So, of course, I put this out there as a invitation that if anybody wants to enter into a one-on-one dialogue with me and talk about this more in depth, and you're ready to do this kind of deep work and creation in your life around business, around relationship, this is what I've been doing for 10 years now, professionally, and I love it. It's my heart's work. And many of you watching know that. And I will continue to put free content out here for y'all to engage in and answer questions, and do the best that I can in that medium. And for anybody that wants to take it deeper to another level, you can shoot me an email or fill out an application on my website. So um, sending you all love. Thank you again for your attention and showing up today. It looks like we have hit all of the questions at this point. I appreciate your presence, your attention here, and we will see you in the next live. I'll probably have another video coming out that is a more succinct version of this one in the near future. Maybe, we'll see. I mean, this felt pretty flowing and comprehensive. All right. Thanks again, all.